Welcome to Smart Reply section of this course. With MLKit Smart API, you can automatically generate relevant replies to the messages. It also helps user to respond to messages quickly and make it easier to reply to the messages on the devices with limited input capabilities. So you may have seen this feature in Gmail or other application with chat facility. So what we are gonna build in this section? We will build an Android application in which user will either send or receive the messages. Then we will pass the conversation to our smart reply model, and our model will gonna suggest the reply based upon the conversation each time user will receive a message. So whenever we will receive a message, our model will gonna generate a reply that will be relevant. And in order to build this application, we are gonna follow the same 5-step mechanism. Firstly, we will import our starter application code from GitHub. After that, we will create our Firebase project and connect our Android application with it. Then we will create our smart reply object using MLKit. After that, we will pass the send and the receive messages to our model, and our model will gonna suggest the replies and we are gonna show it to the user. As this section involves building a very cool feature inside our application, so let's begin. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture, we are gonna build our first application using Smart Reply feature of Firebase ML. So this feature is quite useful in today's world, as you know that many applications provides the chat facility for its users. So in those applications, we can use this feature and make that application smart. So here we will begin by importing our starter application code. So open your browser and manually type this URL, or you can take this URL from project's URL file shared with you. Here you need to click on this code button and copy this repository link. After that, open your Android Studio and click on this get from version control and paste the link here. Now click clone and this project will be cloned in a moment. So now the project is cloned successfully and the Gradle is built. So let's firstly launch this starter application inside an emulator and see what does this starter application contains. So I am gonna launch this application inside an emulator. So now our application is installed successfully, and that is our starter application. So there you can see that at the top we have this section with the title Smart Reply, and below that we have another text reply. So here we are gonna show the predicted replies by the model. After that we have this section where we have the title sent, and here we are gonna enter the messages that we are gonna send. After that we have this section received, and there we are gonna type the messages we are gonna receive. So once user will type the messages that he will gonna send, or he will type the messages that he will gonna receive, and he will click the send button, the predicted reply by the model will be shown here inside this text view. As we all know that when we are chatting, we send some messages and after that we receive some messages. So this smart reply model will actually gonna predict the replies based upon the previous messages that he received or sent. So here we are learning to use this feature, and for that purpose we are entering the sent or received messages by ourselves, and then we are gonna check that the replies generated by the model are relevant or not. So hopefully you get the idea that here we will enter the messages that we are gonna send, and there we will enter the messages that we are gonna receive, and after that we are gonna pass those messages to our model, and the predicted replies will be shown here. And later you can use this feature inside the application where the real world chat is happening by following the same procedure. So whenever user will type the message, you are gonna take that message and pass it to the model, and once he will receive the message, you will pass that message to the model as well, and then the model will gonna auto suggest the replies. So that is our starter application. And now let's look at this starter application code. So here let's firstly expand this app folder, and there go inside this res folder, and inside our activity main we have the GUI. So let's open it. So here you can see that inside our activity main we have these 3 card views. So this first card view is showing this second box where we have the title sent. After that we have another card view which is showing this section name received, and then we have this card view in which we are gonna show the replies predicted by the model. So inside these cards we have the text view, the edit text and the button, and in case of this card we have both text views here. And now inside this text view we are gonna show the replies predicted by the model. So that is the GUI of this application. And now let's look at the application code. So here inside our Java folder we have the main activity, so let's open it. And there you can see that inside our main activity we firstly initialized our GUI elements. So we initialized our result TV in which we are gonna show the replies. After that we initialized the sender button, and then we initialized our received button, and they are respectively belong to this and that button. After that we initialize the edit text where the user will gonna enter the messages, and then we are setting the on click listener on the sender and receiver button. So when the user will click on the send or receive button, we are simply resetting the text that is present inside this result TV and inside this edit text. And now we need to add the code related to smart reply. So that is this starter application code that we have created the GUI and we initialized our GUI elements. And now it's time to add the machine learning related code. So the first step is connecting this application with Firebase. So for this starter application we have already connected it with Firebase. So here when you will change this Android to project, and then inside this app folder of your smart reply you will see that we have this Google services.json file. So let's change it back to Android, and there inside this Gradle script you can see that inside our project level build.gradle file we have this dependency for Google services. Similarly inside our app level build.gradle file we have this Google services plugin as well. So this application is connected with Firebase, and the next step is adding our smart reply related code, and we are gonna do that inside our next lecture. So see you in the next lecture. Welcome to this lecture. In this lecture we are gonna add the smart reply feature inside our Android application. So I have opened the documentation page for this smart reply feature. So in your browser you can type this URL and open this page, and there we have the documentation related to this feature. So the key points are mentioned here on this page. So you have the key capabilities, limitations and how the model works section. So you can read about this information and it will be useful for you in future. But the important points are that the model this feature contains uses up to 10 most recent messages from a conversation history to generate reply suggestions. It means that the model will gonna take the previous 10 messages of the conversation and it will gonna generate a reply accordingly. Similarly, we have an example here where the user is sending the message, "Are you on your way?" and the reply is, "Running late, sorry." So the suggestion based upon these messages is "no worries," this emoji and this "no problem" tag. And you can see that all of these suggestions are quite related. Similarly, this feature is only available for English language and more languages will be added soon. So now let's use this model inside our Android application. So I will click on this Android button and the documentation for Android will be opened. And there we have the steps to add this model. And the first step is inside our project level build.gradle file we need to add Google Maven repository, and that is already included for our starter application. And the second step is we need to add this line inside our app level build.gradle file so that the smart reply model will be downloaded. So you need to copy this line and after that you will paste it inside your app level build.gradle file. So here you can see that inside this dependency section we have pasted it. After that you need to paste these options inside your app level build.gradle file inside the Android section. So you need to copy them and after that open your Android Studio. And here inside this app level build.gradle file you need to place them here just before the closing of this Android section. And after doing that, our TF-Lite file will not be compressed when the model file is downloaded from the internet. So the next step is creating our conversation history object. As we have told you earlier that the model will gonna generate the replies based upon the earlier chat history. So we have all the code to create that history here. So there you can see that to generate smart replies, you will pass a list of text messages with the earliest timestamp first. So you will pass the messages in the order they are sent or received. And for that purpose, you will firstly declare a list of text messages and then you will add text messages into it. So firstly move back to the application, and here inside our main activity we will declare a list, and the data type of that list will be text messages, and this text message is actually defined inside the smart reply library. So here text messages, and the list name will be conversation, and after that we will initialize it inside our own create method. So here we will initialize it, so conversation, and then we will create an array list, and that's it. So now we initialized our list of text messages here, and the next step is adding the messages once the user will send or receive it. And for that purpose you can see that we have this code here, so you need to copy it, and after that we will look at this code. So we are gonna paste this code inside this send button dot on click listener. So whenever user will type the message and click on the send button, this method will be executed, and here we will add that message inside our list of messages. So I'm gonna paste this code here, and there you can see that we are having an error, and that is we have some spelling mistake in the variable that we declared. So just put a here and there, and now the error is gone. So there you can see that inside this list we are adding an object of type text message, and we are creating this object with the help of textMessage.create for local user method. So there you can see that when you will send the message, you are a local user, and the person which will gonna send you the message or the reply will be the remote user. So here for your messages you will create this textMessage.create local user method, and for that purpose or for the messages that you are receiving you will call the remote user method. And there you can see that inside this method you are firstly specifying the message, and that message is actually present inside this sender edit tag. So we will call this sender ed dot get text dot toString. So here we are passing the message that user have typed, and after that we are getting the current time in millisecond or the time when we are sending this message. And after doing that, move back to the documentation page, and there you can see that we have this section for the messages we are receiving. So you need to copy it, and inside your application you will paste it inside this receive button on click. So here I'm gonna paste it, and now here you need to specify your user ID. So inside the application where you implemented the chat, you must have a user ID for each user, and that can be anything, but you must have it, and you will pass it here to uniquely identify particular user. But for now let's pass one here, and that's it. And there you can see that for the receive messages we are creating this text message.create for remote user, and there we are specifying the message that we have received. But in our case we will use our receive edit text, and we will get the text that user have entered there. So .get text .toString, and after that you need to specify the timestamp just like the local user, and then you will specify the ID of the person from where you have received this message. So now you can see that whenever user will type the message inside the edit text and click on the send button, a message will be added inside this conversation list. Similarly, when he will enter the reply, the message will also be added inside this list. And the next step is passing this conversation history to our model and getting the replies. And for that purpose, on the documentation page we have a section get message replies, and there you can see that we have the code inside it. So just change this Kotlin to Java and then copy this code, and we are gonna paste this code here inside our own create method. And now you can see that in the code we are firstly initializing our smart reply generator. So there you can see that smart reply.getClient will gonna initialize it, and we need to declare this variable above, so just copy it. After that, remove this smart reply generator from here, and we will declare it above our own create method and add a semicolon. So now you can see that after initializing it, we are calling the smart reply.suggest replies method, and there we are passing our conversation list. And after that we added two callbacks, add on success listener and add on failure listener. So in case of success we will get the suggestion result variable, and in case of failure we will get the exception. But here you can see that we are getting an error, so just click on it and press Alt plus enter. And now click on this implement method, and there you can see that we need to implement this own success method. But this method is already present, but due to some changes in the API, the syntax of this method is changed. So just click OK and the new own success method will be added. And now you can see that instead of this smart reply suggestion result, we are getting the result in the form of this object. And now you can see that inside this new own success method, we are getting this object O instead of this smart reply suggestion result. But the type of information is same, and that is due to API change. So we need to cast this object to of type smart reply suggestion result. So just copy all the code that is present inside our previous on success method, and we are gonna paste it here. And after that, let's remove this previous method, and above we will create our smart reply suggestion result variable, and we will name it result. And then we are gonna cast this object type, so smart reply suggestion result, and then we will pass O here. And that's it. Now the errors are gone. And we had that problem because the documentation is not updated and the API has been changed. But now we have resolved it, and there you can see that once we will pass our conversation, we will get this smart reply suggestion result variable. And there we will check the status, and if the status is language not supported, then we will show an error. Otherwise, if the status is success, then we can get the replies and show it to the user. But before that, there is one important question, and that is where we should call this suggest replies method. As for now, we have it inside our own create method, but the replies should be shown once the user will send or receive the message. So we will just cut this section from here, and we will paste it inside our receiver on click method. So I'm gonna paste it here. And now you can see that whenever user will receive a message, or he will type the received message here and click this send button, then we will add this message inside our conversation history, and after that we will ask the model to give us the reply with the help of this section. And now here we will get the replies, and we need to show those replies inside this text view. And for that purpose, open the documentation page, and there you can see that we have this section where we are iterating this result object. So just copy it, and in the own success method we will paste it inside this else if block. So I'm gonna paste it here, and there you can see that we are getting the list of smart reply suggestions with the help of this result.getSuggestion method. And then we are iterating this list, and for each reply we are getting the text stored inside this reply text variable. And the next step is showing this text inside our result TV. So result TV dot append, because we need to show all the replies, so we will call this append method, and then we will show this reply text. And after that we will add a new line character so that each reply will be shown on a new line. And similarly, inside this own success we will reset the text inside this result variable, so that next time when the reply is generated, we will get the latest reply. So we will call this result tv.setText, and we will set it to empty string. And that's it. Now the coding of this application is complete and we can test it. But before that, we can also add this section inside our sender button, so that whenever user will send the message, we will also update these replies. So you can also copy this code and paste it here, and you don't need to change anything. So there you can see that firstly we created this list of text messages, and then whenever user will send or receive the message, we will add that message inside this conversation list, and we need to keep track that the messages that user will gonna send will be added by using this create for local user method, and the messages that he will gonna receive will be added using this create for remote user method. And after creating this conversation list, we are initializing our model here, and then we are calling this smart reply.suggestion replies method and passing our conversation history. And after that we are getting the result, and then we are showing those replies inside this text view. And now let's run this application inside an emulator again and test it. So now the application is installed inside the emulator again, and now let's test this application. So here I will firstly enter the message that I am gonna send it to someone, and after that I will enter the message that is replied by me, and then here I will type the message that I have received from that person. And after that we will see these replies predicted by the model. So firstly, when I will send somebody that I am hurt, and then click send, and this message will be added inside our conversation history. After that, let's enter the reply of that person, that how did it happen, and then I will click the send button. Now you can see that the replies suggested by the model are I don't know, and then we have these two sad emojis, and there you can see that all of these three replies are quite related. So this application is working correctly. So now you can use this feature inside the applications where we have the chat facility, and then you can suggest the replies using this feature.